Chapter 16 is light. The world is largely known through the senses, and light is one of the phenomena for which we require our senses. The sense of light is one of the most important sense. So what is actually light? Light is a form of energy which helps us to see things around us. It is a form of energy because it can do work. Light is a form of energy. It helps us in seeing things around us. We can see things around because of the light. If there is no light, then we are not able to observe things. So how are we able to see things around us? That the eyes are able to perceive things only when some light falls on the object. It is only when the light from an object enters our eyes that we see the object. When some light falls on an object and that light from the object reaches our eyes, then we are able to see the object. When no light falls on the object, then we are not able to see the object. In 7th class you have read that in a shiny object can act as a mirror. In 7th class you read about mirrors. It changes the direction. So in this 8th class also you will read about that light can be reflected. So the first thing we'll read is the laws of reflection. What are the laws of reflection and how do they affect light? There is this experiment shown where the light from a torch is made to fall on a mirror, and then the light is reflected into a comb. Close all the openings of the comb and hold the comb in such a way that the light from the reflected mirror passes through the comb. So when it will pass through one of the holes of the comb, throw light from the torch. When light adjustment of the torch, and you will see a ray of light through the paper. This ray of light which falls on a paper is called the normal ray of light. Now when this ray of light falls, it falls at a particular angle. That is the reflection, and that is the angle of reflection. This ray of light, after striking the mirror, is reflected in another direction. The ray of light which strikes any surface is called the incident ray. The ray which comes back from the surface is called the reflected ray. So there are two types of rays. One is the incident ray and one is the reflected ray. Here there is a diagram shown which will explain properly what is incident ray and what is a reflected ray. So here on this side it is showing an incident ray. This ray of light is falling on the surface in one direction, and then from the surface it is sent back. The ray which is sent back is called the reflected ray. So the two rays are shown which can be called as ray AB. This ray AB can be called the incident ray. This ray of light is sent back in another direction, which is called the reflected ray. So AB is the incident ray and BC is the reflected ray. So it is seen that the angle of incidence, and there is a third light, the ray of line, which is shown here, is called the normal. So if this normal is called as N, then the angle between the incident ray and normal, that is this angle, and the angle between the normal and the reflected ray, which is this angle, both the angles are equal. So this is the law of reflection. The angle of incidence and the angle of reflection are both equal. Incident ray is the ray which is falling on the surface, and reflected ray is the ray which is being sent back. Both the rays are reflected and they form an angle to the normal, which is a perpendicular line to the surface. Both angle of incidence and angle of reflection are same as we do in maths. This is the law of reflection. Now if you change the different angles and note down the readings, when the angle of incidence you will change, then the angle of reflection will also change. So if the angle of incidence is 30 degrees, then the angle of reflection will also be 30. So if you keep on changing the angle 40 or 45 or 50, then consequently on the other side also the angle will also change, and the angle of incidence will be always equal to angle of reflection. This is known as the law of reflection, and when we change the angle, it proves that the law of reflection is always correct for every type of surface.